Gaudet. We come across and help you to attain your financial future. So if you need to learn more about us, you can reach us at 281-435-1888. Again, I am Matthew Paul, CEO of Mayana Financial, where we help you live in the black and set up your financial.
Broadcasting live from Houston, from the space city to the world. You are watching NowMedia Television.
Welcome to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. I am Jen Gaudet, your fearless host, entrepreneur, executive, and business strategist. And I'm here today because I believe that iron sharpens iron. When we come together and share what's working in business, real, relevant, and maybe even some of what's not, we're able to all elevate and grow. As a result, our businesses grow and the impact flows over into our families, our teams, their families, our communities, and the world. I'm really excited to be here today with Paula Cook in studio because we are going to talk some real relevant topics that are occurring. We're going to touch on AI. We're going to touch on that imposter syndrome. We're going to touch on feeling the pressure of entrepreneurship and how do you elevate your human performance so that you can succeed. So I'm really excited to bring to you Paula. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Really glad to be here today. We got some really exciting topics to talk about today, and I'm ready.
So Paula, you are a business coach. You work with entrepreneurs day in and day out. And we were talking before the show about some of the topics that are very prevalent right now. And one of the first ones I want to touch on is change. We were talking about how business has changed so much over the past couple of years. It's almost unrecognizable how we do business today compared to, 2019 even. So talk to me a little bit about some of the challenges with change that you're seeing with entrepreneurs. What are the hesitancies? What are the fears? What are we facing and how do we move through?
That's a big question and a great question, Jen. And so I just want to start with saying change is inevitable. But one thing that is happening right now is there is so much change. And there is change not only happening in our businesses, but what I'm seeing a lot today is change that's happening in our everyday life. And as the entrepreneur, our life and our business, they really commingle. But what normally happens is life is changing rapidly and the business is not changing so rapidly, or the business is changing rapidly and our life is pretty stable. Right now, what I'm seeing that is so different is both of them are changing just very quickly, and it's difficult to get it all wrapped around on how you're going to address which change do you deal with first, and then how do you deal with it, and which change is going to make the most impact in both your business and your life.
Absolutely. I'm seeing that too with a lot of our clients. And I think something that's very critical to bring up here, Paula, is that when we're challenged in our personal life, for example, let's take inflation, right? And cost of living. Unless you live on a rock, cost of living today is very much higher than it was a year or a year and a half ago. We're seeing it at the grocery store. We're seeing it in our housing prices. We're seeing it across the board in goods and services. We're seeing it in our businesses. So as entrepreneurs, one of the things that I'm hearing is, well, my business isn't as successful. Even though the percentage profit margin is the same, it's not translating into what they're seeing in their personal life. Can you speak a little bit to how important it is for us to have a handle on our personal life and to also separate that from the business? Like, how are you handling that with your clients?
Absolutely. So the first way that we handle it is we look at the numbers. We look at the numbers in our personal life. We look at the numbers in our business. And what we're seeing is, yes, there's inflation on both sides. However, what we're also seeing is that the business, due to how we manage the inflation and the expenses that are happening, our business is still keeping the same profit margin. But what we're not seeing is entrepreneurs aren't doing as great of a job as looking at those numbers and budgeting in their personal life because they're giving all that energy to their business. So the first thing that we do is we become aware and we acknowledge what the numbers look like for both sides. And then the same way that we manage the expenses, manage the inflation in our business, we roll that same energy over to our life. So it might mean not going out to eat for lunch, breakfast, and dinner. It might mean that we have to cook a meal or to. It might mean that we may need to, look at our travel. It might mean we may need to get creative and look at some ways to save in our life, just like we do in our business, to really adjust for that inflation that's happening right now that we can't control.
Yeah, and it's really interesting because the money's still coming in. It's just the money isn't going as far in our personal life. And what I'm seeing is they're then translating that to, I'm not as successful in business, which is absolutely not true. I mean, like a 20% profit margin 2 years ago and a 20% profit margin today, is still a very healthy business. At the bottom line, it's just the money isn't stretching as far on the personal side. So as people are feeling that pressure, because we were talking about this too, they're feeling the pressure economically. They're feeling the pressure of change and uncertainty, really, which triggers fear as human beings. Like as humans, we don't like change. But there's so many things that are happening, so much change. How do we determine what is the first place to implement a change or to put our focus so that we can at least get in the proper positive momentum instead of withdrawing or getting those negative feelings, the imposter syndrome, that I'm not successful, that will ultimately impact our business and our personal lives?
Absolutely. As we were talking about this before the show, I shared with Jen that you just get a sense of numbness. You don't even want to look at the numbers. You don't want to think about things. You don't want to say, okay, how can we prioritize the priorities? So it's the numbness that you really want to avoid. That's my term for it. So what is the first thing that we can do? The first thing that I do to come out of numbness is I pinch. And Paula, how are you pinching? I'm pinching in several different ways. I am having a personal conversation with myself. I'm having a personal conversation with my coach and with my team. And so it's about conversating, because it gives you that jolt you need to get out of that numbness and to say, okay, what are we going to do first? List all the problems, start talking about solutions, and then figuring out what is that one thing we can do today, right now, that's going to have the most impact and drive us forward.
And so you bring up a very important point to bear. Whether we're an executive or an entrepreneur in our company, we're feeling the pinch. We're having to monitor. We have to streamline expenses on the business side. We have to monitor our margins on the business side. We're having to renegotiate our cost structures. Maybe we're raising prices. Maybe we're dealing with those constant customer conversations. But we're not transferring that to our personal life. And if we're not, then of course we can assume that our employees are feeling the pinch too. So how do you begin that conversation in today's world with your employees, just to kind of have that touch point so that you're like, okay, we understand, things are tight. We're feeling the pressure. We're coming down. We're expecting more productivity. What are some things that as entrepreneurs we can do and be awareness for our people, because retention is also a big deal. Like the labor market is tight. There's a labor shortage in many industries. Like, how do we maintain our people and have these conversations so that they can, like, we're really serving them? Happy employees stay and they create happy clientele. So what does that look like in our communication with our team to make sure they're taken care of and they have the tools they need personally and professionally so they can continue to show up and deliver on the things that we need them to deliver?
Absolutely, Jen. The first thing that I always tell our clients is, one, you have to communicate. A lot of times when we're the CEO, we have the conversation with our coach or our strategist or our executive team, our C-suite, and then it stops there. It absolutely cannot stop there. The first step is to schedule the conversation. I always say knowledge is power. When our team has knowledge and understanding of what's happening, and they know that we're aware that they are having challenges or struggles or that things are changing, it changes the whole dynamic of the situation. When people don't address the elephant in the room and the elephant is just sitting there, then it's hard to look around. Nobody can see what's going on. I can't see what you're doing. You can't see what I'm doing. Nobody knows how to pull together and support each other. So let's move the elephant out the room. Let's schedule the conversation after you get your strategy, and then let's move forward. And then during that conversation, let's have, number one, we always have an agenda because we want to be efficient with our time, but we also put on that agenda the opportunity to hear from our team. Let them tell us what's going on. Ask those open-ended questions. Hey, how how are you feeling? Hey, I was talking to an employee and they were like, I really love working here, but I'm going to have to go find another job because I can't afford the insurance hike that I just received from my insurance company. And it was like, wait a minute. It kind of jogged us and said, whoa, okay, well, what can we do? Because we want you to stay here too. So sometimes just hearing and touching base and having the opportunity and the environment for open conversation is really the first major step.
Okay, so open lines of communication and transparency has become increasingly key, especially in small businesses, but even all the way up through corporate structure. Employees today want a measure of transparency, like what can we expect? And since we are on the topic of major change in business, I want to talk about AI. Because what I'm seeing with my clients, there's the entrepreneur who's afraid of AI because maybe they are in a business that AI can now solve for them. What comes to mind is virtual assistants, right? AI is taking that kind of VA role in a lot of ways and doing those jobs more effectively, more efficiently. So if you have a business that is being directly impacted by some of the new capabilities for business with AI, like that's a big conversation. And then how do you have that conversation with your team? And on the other side, there's a lot of fear around artificial intelligence. People don't have a real understanding. They have an understanding that they saw on TV in Terminator or pick your bleak future dystopia, right? Pick your movie. It never turns out well. And so there's a lot of fears associated with that. There's a lot of conversation about regulation and guardrails and moratoriums. And so how can we as entrepreneurs and executives kind of minimize the fear factor so that we can implement the changes that are going to give us the productivity and efficiency without our team saying, oh my goodness, is my job at stake? Or a business owner saying, oh my goodness, what do I need to do?
Right. That is a great question. And one of the things that I think about that has helped me is being in a community of entrepreneurs, being around people who are already stepping into the AI world. We have a group where we meet on Mondays, and we actually brought AI to the group. We are in a Zoom, so we're able to screen share. So we're like, take a look. It's not as scary as it looks. Take a look at this. Here's something you can type in there. Look how easy this is. Look how this works. So it's really about connecting with people, that when you're scared of something, connecting with people to help you move forward is one of the biggest things that I will say will move you forward the fastest. And it's always easier to do it with two than it is to do it with one. And what you may know, the other person may not know. And what you may not know, the other person may know. Or y'all may not know together, but you have that synergistic energy to figure it out. And so it makes it less scary. So that's the first thing I would do, is get into a group of people who are not fearful of it, who've explored it and can just introduce you and say, look, it's not that hard. Check it out. Let's take a look. You're not going to break the computer. Let's go.
And so let's take that to the team now. We're implementing AI integrations in some of our things. And how do we then bring our team in and limit their fear around, well, is this going to take my job away? Am I still going to be necessary? Do I need to be looking for another job? Which is like absolutely what we don't want, because
right.
We want to keep our key people. So what does that conversation look like?
Right. So we were talking about transparency earlier, what Jen said about transparency. It is about being transparent, because at the end of the day, like Jen was saying, AI is potentially going to take some of the duties of people's jobs, but it's also about understanding what AI is. And so it could be really giving the team a presentation on what AI does, what AI does not do, which AI is not a human, so it's not changing with the times. It's not pivoting. It's not able to look at a situation and situationally address it. It's still a computer. It's putting out what we put in. So it's not thinking instantly like a human does. So that's one thing to think about in that perspective. But it's really about being transparent and laying out there that, hey, AI can help with some of the duties that you are doing right now, so that we can elevate and move forward and do some of the other things that AI cannot do. So it's about coming to the team, being transparent and saying, yes, it does do this, but it doesn't do this, and you do. So how can we do more of what you're doing and let AI take care of some of those little things that are redundant that we don't need to spend time on. So we can partner with AI. We can show our team how we can partner with AI, and we can all be better.
And so like the key takeaways that I'm hearing right now are, when we approach our team, be very open and transparent. We're integrating this. Yes, I understand that. I hear that you have fears that this is going to take your job away. It absolutely is not. What it's going to do is make your job easier. It's going to take those tasks that you hate doing day to day and do them for you, so that we can bring you to the next level and do the things that you enjoy more. And so I'm also hearing that we have to provide the right training. We have to provide the right support and tools for them as they make this transition, because if we have been considering it at the executive level, we've already had the chance to come to terms with, okay, this is good, this is going to make sense, this is how it's going to make sense, but we haven't given our team that same time to kind of come to terms with that. So I think I'm hearing communication, I'm hearing giving them the tools, and just having that two-way street, and being, I think this is where compassion comes into play, right? You know, we have to be compassionate and understand where they are, because we've already been thinking about it. We're thinking 8 moves ahead, because we're the strategists in the room.
Right.
You know, they're not the strategists, they're the implementers. So we have to make sure that we're very clear that this is going to help them in their job, and we have to give them the tools to upscale so they can be the users of the AI, so that we as a business can ride the wave instead of be crushed by the wave.
Yes.
I really love that. And so, Paula, we've seen a lot of fears. I know we were talking about this before the show. Both of us have seen a lot of fears around technology and business, around, well, I'm in, like, let's speak to that. I'm in the business that, do I even have a business as AI gets better and better in developing? Like, and so I'm thinking like VAs, I'm thinking even photography, because like there's AI that you can literally take a selfie and it gives you 120 brand photos, right? In different styles. So if people are watching this and they're in an industry where AI is literally to the point where they can edit the photographs much more rapidly, they can do things a lot more quickly, and they're fearing that, okay, what do I do with my business? Like, and they are really pushing back. Like, how can they move forward and start that next conversation to bring them forward?
Absolutely. So I always say CEOs, right? Chief Executive Officers. It is also creative executive officer. We're going to have to get creative. We're going to actually also have to critically think about the things that we can do to partner with AI, as I just said, but things that we can do that AI cannot do, so that we can move our business forward. The other biggest piece is not being in denial. That's this transparency, not being in denial, being open to change, and then allowing our minds to get creative, to critically think, to pivot, as we had to do during COVID. So this is not, we're not a stranger to this, but to pivot to be able to partner with AI and still have a business. We were talking about, yes, it's going to spit out 120 brand photos. 60 of them are going to be great, 60 of them aren't. But what it's not going to do is go and take pictures of an apartment that you're trying to sell, or it's not going to, do some of these other high level things that humans are still doing. So what it's really going to take is us coming out of denial and saying, this is 2023. Yes, we are in 2023. Remember when we were scared of going into the 2000s? We're 23 years in and we haven't disappeared or poofed, been sucked up into alienation yet. We're still here. But what has happened is there has been some major evolution, some major progression, and we're still here, which means we have a purpose. So it's just about elevating that purpose, getting creative, digging in deep, coming out of denial, and starting to think of creative ways to partner with AI and move your business forward.
And really, it's listening to the customer. Like, where is our business going to be next year, 2 years from now, 3 years from now? What are the things that I have to start doing today? What are the habits I need to do today so I can learn to integrate, for example, the new technology into my business? Maybe it looks like doing a Pomodoro, doing a 25-minute focus session every day to start learning the AI tool that you're going to integrate, so that then you can teach it to your team as you do so. So it really is, what I'm hearing from you is, get your head out of the sand. We have to look at it. We have to face it head on. We have to be real about it. Okay, this is, in some businesses, it's actually a threat.
Right.
In other businesses, it's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to be more efficient, effective, for us to drive down our cost structure. And so really doing almost like a SWOT analysis about what are the impacts of AI on my business, what is going to happen in my industry, and thinking 8 moves ahead. It's a chess game, not checkers. So if we're in that, my head is in the sand and I'm really afraid to get started, because this is something that I see all the time. with something that is very new, especially for those who are in our generation. I mean, I didn't grow up with internet. That came into being when I was in medical school. So like for those who were not raised and we're a little bit on the more seasoned side of business, it tends to be a little bit more fearful, the new technology. What are some things that those people can do that are small, simple steps that'll move the needle and allow them to kind of like make sure they're up with the curve without being, feeling threatened, if you will?
Absolutely. So the first thing that I always tell seasoned entrepreneurs to do is to bring in some fresh blood. Bring in new, I don't even want to say younger, I'll just say new people that are willing to come aside you and just teach and train, as we talked about, and show you some new things. And it's really starting with the openness, but as a parent, my son has grown up in this age of technology. Technology does not scare him at all. So when I am about to face something new and with AI, I call him downstairs and I'm like, hey, come show me what this is. Hey, show me how to film this. They are experts in this thing and they are not scared at all. So what I would say is the first thing is to partner with someone who is comfortable with the technology. So that's number one. Number two is, unfortunately, you're gonna have to make yourself. As Jen was saying, there are many different ways to do that. We can start with 5 minutes. I'm gonna commit to getting on the computer and just typing in AI and see what comes up. Just Google it and read about it. Okay, now I feel comfortable with the 5 minutes. Now let's go to 10 minutes. 10 minutes, I'm gonna type in ChatGPT. Ooh, anything happen? Okay, we're still here. Chat GPT. And then the next time I'm going to go Chat GPT and then I'm going to ask it a question and see what it tells me. So it's little steps, but it's first of all the commitment. So the commitment and then getting around like-minded people that are wanting to help you with the technology change and then making that commitment to do it a little bit every day.
Absolutely. And so what I'm hearing is the same concept with everything else that we talk about in business. It's a one habit, one day at a time, a little bit, and habit stacking and learning it slowly over time instead of trying to eat the whole elephant all at once, one bite at a time.
Right.
But it's also about leaning on our teams, because this is something that in previous generation, I remember when I first started in business in like 20 some odd years ago, like it was a very top-down approach, but now it's a very collaborative approach. Like we have cross-generational teams for a reason, and everyone has different strengths. So I think this is a time to really lean on the strengths of your team and empower our teams to step up into the areas that they really shine, and partnering them with one another. So one of the things that I've done with some of my clients is some of the older, more timid towards technology people, they are mentoring the newer employees who are a lot younger, who are very comfortable with technology. And so it's a mentor-mentee situation from an experience standpoint in the business, but the younger person can help them with efficiency and how can we make this better and what kind of processes or what kind of technology can we implement. So it really is a win-win situation, right? You're getting all the benefits of experience and knowledge in the industry, along with all of the new ideas, the creativity, and the complete comfort with technology, and you're able to mesh together and have a better product in the end for both parties. So I think creating those win-win situations within our teams, creating those win-win situations with other business owners, like you said, partnering with the right people who can bring something to the table, so that the sum of the team is better than the sum of all its parts. So I think that's absolutely excellent. And Paula, as we're going through these changes, one of the other things that is really happening, we talked about economic changes, we talked about AI, there's just a lot of change, and that can feel overwhelming. Yeah. And so if we're in overwhelm, what is something that we can do right now to kind of pull it back and decrease that overwhelm so that we can even see what our priorities are and delineate that out?
Yeah. I like to say take an adult time out. And that is what I've had to implement, and it has been so successful for me and many of our other clients. You just have to take a time out and say, time out, stop. I need to figure out what is going on. And a lot of times in all this change, it's overwhelming and it's also exhausting. And it also starts to play a part in our health because as we're trying to keep up, we let that go. We don't eat. We don't drink our water. We're not getting the sleep because we're stressed out. So it starts to be a downhill turn. So I say take a time out, recharge, refresh, rejuvenate, and come back and be ready to tackle it. And then there's strategies from there. But the first thing is to stop the madness. I like to say stop the madness, take a time out, get yourself back in a place where you are ready and your mindset is ready and you've had the chance to just take a minute and breathe and come back and be like, okay, now we're ready. And then you start to go through things and decide the priorities of the priorities. So take an adult time out, Jen.
I love it. Press and pause. So while we're pressing pause on our burnout and getting our priorities and taking that step back, we're going to pause for a brief commercial break. We'll see you in just a moment.
Stop and think. How often do you take the time to set goals? And when you set those goals, how often do you hit them? The problem is the word goal setting. We all have goals, but goals are just wishes. Goals are what we want. What we really need is called result setting. My name is Katrin Becker, and what I do is create tailor-made result plans that ensure people will hit their targets. If you are committed for real results, let's chat and see which program is right for you and your team. Goals are just what we want, but together, results are what we will achieve.
Bienvenidos a Interior Bar Houston, el bar más vibrante de Downtown en la ciudad de Houston. En Interio, la fiesta nunca para. Nuestro DJ de clase mundial te mantendrá bailando toda la noche con la mejor música de hoy y de siempre. Además, aquí encontrarás las mejores bebidas y cócteles. En Interio, nuestro ambiente electrizante y nuestro equipo amigable te asegurarán una noche que nunca olvidarás. Te esperamos de 9:30 a 2 de la mañana. Interio, donde la diversión nunca se detiene.
¿Quieres que tu negocio crezca y todo parece indicar que el camino es Estados Unidos? Te dijeron que abras una LLC para que no pagues impuestos, mas no tienes idea de cómo hacerlo. Soy Edmundo Treviño y quiero compartir contigo más de 20 años como empresario en Estados Unidos para que tú no te equivoques en los mismos errores que yo ya realicé. Sígueme en todas las redes sociales para que juntos conquistemos el mercado americano.
According to the FBI, a robbery occurs every 13 seconds. Homes and businesses without a reliable security system are 300% more likely to be burglarized. Alert 360 provides custom-tailored rock-solid security solutions to residential and commercial customers. Whether it's home security, fire and carbon monoxide detection, flood protection, connected senior care, managed video surveillance solutions, 24/7 alarm monitoring, and life safety, Alert 360 is your ideal solution. In addition, Alert 360 has a smart home and business integrations like access control and video shield for a complete peace of mind, protecting what matters the most and reducing energy costs with our top-of-the-line automatic scheduling functions. Alert 360 offers security services discounts to military personnel, veterans, first responders, educators, and hospital personnel. Don't be a victim. Take a strong step today. Call Rosana Torres at 832-863-8574 for your free consultation.
Hey, this is Michael Rager, the host of Biz Talk TV with Michael Rager. Make sure you join us every day, 5 p.m. Central Time on all Now Media channels and social media platforms.
Hi, my name is Elias Basabe, founder of Little Maria's Cafe restaurant in West Houston, located in 2901 Wilkers Drive, Suite 137, first floor. Here you will find a family-friendly and relaxed environment where you can enjoy a delicious homemade breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We know you need to get to work fast, and we want you to enjoy a tasty, quality, and healthy homemade food. So come and visit us for a great, nutritious meal at an affordable price. We specialize in tasty breakfasts, deli sandwiches, fish, even barbecue cookouts. Little Maria's Cafe has it all. We only use the great quality of bird's head meats and products. Just like you, we love to get you up early. Little Maria's Cafe is open from 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. You can dine in with us during breakfast, lunch, or dinner, or we can have it ready for you for pickup. Visit us today on the first floor of the CMPC Center at 2901 Wilkers Drive, Suite 137, first floor. Order now at 832-667-8376, Little Maria's Cafe.
Hey, Lily says AT&T is giving everyone their best deals.
Minus the air quotes.
Best deals.
No need to wink. Others say they give everyone a deal, but not everyone gets the best deal.
Told you, the best deals are for everyone here, with a choice of plans.
You were right.
Is she always right?
Always.
At AT&T, we give everyone our best deals on every smartphone.
Are you a business owner feeling overwhelmed or burnt out with no energy left for what's most important to you? In order to effectively run your business and maximize your profits, you have got to be the best possible you that you can be. Now is the time to reclaim your energy, master your schedule, and maximize your profits so you can effectively run your business rather than it running you. It's time to become the CEO of your business and life. I'm Jen Gaudet, a business strategist and life coach. I work with overwhelmed business owners who feel stuck in a rut and depleted. I teach you how to stop doing the things that aren't making you money and start prioritizing the things that bring you energy, joy, and lasting impact. I'm a human performance specialist and an international best-selling author. I've helped countless people all over the world to learn the art of saying no, overcome their fear, and maximize their performance. Let's get you to live your best possible reality. Start today and become the CEO of your business and your life. Welcome back to Power CEOs, the truth behind the business. Jen Gaudet here. If you're just tuning in, you're going to want to go to NowMedia.tv and select Power CEOs, the show, so you can see the first segment. We started out today talking about all the change and how do we navigate the changes and the pressures that we're feeling, whether it's economic on the personal or the business side. AI, we talked about AI and how to communicate with our teams, how to limit their fears, and really how to keep our business moving forward and our life moving forward no matter what life throws at us. And so right before the break, Paula said we're going to press pause when things get overwhelming, because if we feel overwhelmed, that's like on the path to burnout. And so we don't want to burn out, because we know that if we're not optimally performing as human beings, if we're burned out, we're not efficient, we're not productive, we're not able to problem solve, we don't make the right decision first, and we can't implement things at the speed that we are accustomed to. So I want to dive right into that, Paula, with when people are feeling the pressure, you said take an adult timeout, press pause, take a step back, and fill your cup. Well, what does that look like? How do we continue to put self-care first so that we can be healthy and we can be high performing as executives and entrepreneurs, even though we're in the midst of all of these changes?
You know, it's about intentionality. That word gets thrown around, but it is so powerful in human performance. Everything we do has to be intentional. We have so many things coming at us, so many choices to make, so many decisions that we're making day by day, minute by minute. And how many of you, if it's not on my schedule, it doesn't exist. We live by our schedule. So be intentional in your schedule to put you first. Make an appointment for you. Set a timer for lunch. How many people like are working, meeting after meeting after meeting, and you miss lunch and you look up and it's 2:00 and you had coffee and maybe a juice early that morning? Your body is consuming the energy and the calories that you need to be that CEO and that power CEO that we talk about all the time. So you have to be intentional, and it's about setting up your day. And we talk about intentionality all the time, but it even starts before you get out of the bed in the morning. When I'm very intentional, before my feet hit the ground, I'm gratitude. I am thinking about what do I want my day to look like. I am doing, I'm setting my mind and intention for the day. Today is going to be a good day. I tell myself that every day. Today is going to be a good day because I know everything that's coming at me, by the end of the day, it's going to turn around. It's going to be a good day. So I tell myself that. And then I get going and I know how my day is going to be set out. So the main thing is be intentional. And as a CEO, you need to make an appointment for you to fill your cup.
And so we're talking about really non-negotiables, because if we are running the business, if we're running the company, whether we're an executive, whether we're the founder, it doesn't matter if we're a solopreneur or if we have a team of 150 or 1,000. If we are not healthy, no one gets the benefit of us. And so when we're talking about human performance, and we mentioned this earlier, it's sleep. If we're not sleeping, we can't restore, so we don't have the energy to do what we need to do. Right. It's our nutrition. You talked about nutrition and making sure we're getting our meals in. I am guilty of that. If it's not in my calendar, I don't take lunch. So I know I have to do it. And this actually, it's funny, this happened at Christmas time last year. My auto lunch appointment expired. And all of a sudden, I went 3 weeks without lunch, and I couldn't figure out why I was feeling so bad. And I got sick, and it was solely because I didn't have that in my calendar. So if you know that you have to put your gym time, your appointments in your calendar for it to actually get done, today is the day you do that. I want to give an action. Sorry, Paul, I know.
Let's do it.
I want to give an action step right now. Like, put your self-care appointments in your calendar, because if we're not energized, fueling our body, fueling our mind, moving our body, and sleeping, then no one gets the best of us. We make poor decisions, we make poor choices, and our businesses suffer, our teams suffer, and it just impacts everyone else. So today's the day, if you haven't done this already, to make sure you put your self-care, and I'm not talking about your retreats and your massages and all those, maybe that is in there. I'm talking about just basic, what does it take for you to be a high-performing human being, into your calendar, and you can't schedule over that. Because one of the things that I've noticed, Paula, is people will put that into their calendar, and as soon as they get a client phone call, what do? They write over that. So what is a strategy for if you get a client emergency or a team emergency or something happens and it happens to be your self-care time? Like what can people do in that circumstance?
Yeah, that happens to me a lot. It seems like right when I'm getting ready to do my lunch, per se, because that's self-care for me, somebody will call with a challenge. And you know what my response is? I'm sorry, I have an appointment. Let me call you back in about 30 minutes. And if you really need to tell me something, you can send me a text, and then I will get to you in about 30 minutes. So they don't have to know that it's my lunch and my self-care time. I don't have to tell them that. But what I do firmly hold to is I have an appointment. And just like they have an appointment or they have a problem, my lunch is my appointment, and it is my problem, because I need to feed my body so that I can deal with their problem. So you have to change that mindset, and you have to put that priority on that time and really understand that that's going to help you, and ultimately it's going to help the people you serve. And that's the mindset shift. And it's going to take a minute. And I had to come up with words, but now I have a rehearsed response. So I encourage you to come up with a response when it's that time. I'm sorry, I have an appointment. And when it's about to be that time, I have 5 more minutes before my next appointment. Let's go ahead and reschedule something, or let's go ahead and close this up. So just getting in the habit of doing that. Pretend like your self-care time is actually a client.
I love it. Your self-care time is a client. If something absolutely crazy off the wall happens in life, then you find another place in your schedule where you can actually get it in. And that's been something that I've had to do in the past because, life happens, business happens. So let's talk a little bit about being a business athlete, because as executives and entrepreneurs, we really have to be business athletes. What are some of the key habits that we could be putting in, the success habits that are going to get us from where we are today? Like maybe we have a $1 million revenue business and we want to get to that $10 million revenue business. We're going to have to do some things a little different day to day, and it's that day to day consistent habit that's going to bring about that $10 million business. So talk to me a little bit about how do we implement the new habits? Like how do we determine what we're going to do differently so that we can be higher performing as a business athlete?
Absolutely. So when we think of athlete, we think of several different things, but most of us, when we think of athlete, we think of, the athlete themselves and the shape that they're in, and how they are performing really highly in their sport. The other thing that we think about is a coach, right? Every athlete has a coach. And I will guarantee the high performing athletes, they have more than one coach. They have the coach for the skill or the sport that they are doing. They have the nutrition coach. They have the strength and conditioning coach. They have the flexibility coach. They have their athletic trainer that's actually like a coach. They have different things that are part of their team, their coaching team, that's going to help them go to the next level. Most times, I'm not going to say sometimes, I'm going to say most times, we can't go from one point to another without help because you haven't been here. So you need to be talking to people who have been there and can help you get there. And that's your coaches. That's your mentors. That's people who have gone before you and have already done what you're trying to do. So the simple thing is, the first step is get a coach. If it's not one coach, get two. If it's not two, get three, depending on where you need to go. Going from the million to the 10 million, there's a bunch of millions in there. So you might need a coach for every million. It depends on who you are and what you know. But I'm telling you, it is so important to get a mentor or a coach to go where you're going. And they will help you to get there. And that doesn't mean just because you go get a coach or a mentor, it doesn't mean that you're dumb, you're stupid, you can't do it. It means you are super smart and you want to make the best of your time and you want to get that expertise partnered with your expertise to go to the next level.
Well, I think one of the things that the elite athletes do the best is they identify the areas in their life that are not in peak performance. And sometimes their coaches point it out because we both come from the sports performance world. How many times did we say, your mindset is in the way, you need to go to your sports psychologist because this is in your head, you can't PR because of your head, and the mindset that we're doing is not getting you to the next level, let's go to this. And I think the same thing happens in business, right? I'm a business coach too, and a lot of times I'm like, okay, this is great, and you need a brand coach because your personal brand is completely off. And while we could do that, that really isn't our lane. Why don't you seek out one of these people? And so one of the ways that I get my coaches, Paula, is I ask my coaches and the people who I look up to, I'm like, who got you there? Yeah. Who is it that you work with? How did you know to get to that level? Because what I find is when I ask that question, and I ask my coach, I'm like, I've found 3 of my coaches from one of my current coaches. So I've got 4. And I found 3 of them through the first one. Right. And the beauty of it is that they've been there and they collapse the time. So, everybody, we talk a lot about, we take our L's and our L's are learnings. They're not losses. Right. But why not learn from other people's losses and collapse the time so that it happens for us faster? Like that is truly a game changer in athletics and in business. And so I really like that you brought that up. And I know we touched on community earlier when we were talking about AI and learning about AI, but exactly how important is it to be in a room with other people who are at your level, above your level, so that you have that support and that stretch? And I guess, how do you find that group of people?
Yeah, so it's super important. First and foremost, it is very, very important because we pretty much are the sum of the people that we hang around, right? Our net worth is really indicative of our network. So we want to make sure that we're putting ourselves in places where there's a positive environment, there's an open environment for questions and learning, and you're able to elevate yourself around the people that you choose to be in the room with. Now, good question. How do you find those? How do we find a lot of things? Number one, you ask questions. You ask questions to people who are in places where you want to go. So what does that mean? You have to have a little bit of an idea of where you want to go, or at least where you don't want to be. So you find yourself in places, putting yourself in places and around people where you want to go, not where you don't want to. To be a marine biologist, I'm going to go to SeaWorld and I'm going to hang out with marine biologists and people that do things with sea animals. I'm not going to be at McDonald's eating their fries and learning how to make their fries. That's great. Fries are good, but that's not what I want to do. So that's a very extreme example, but I just want to kind of throw that out there, that you have to put yourself around people where you want to go, which means you got to figure out where you want to go.
And truthfully, so it starts with where do I want to be, and then we find the people and the coaches to get us to where we're going to be that are going to collapse the time. But we have to do the work. We have to do the little changes every day. So this whole episode has been great because we've touched on all of those things. And I want to now ask this, like, what about the fear? Oh my goodness, what if somebody thinks that I don't know all the things? Because in entrepreneurship, especially within peer groups, and I find this a lot, like if you're spending a lot of your time in peer groups with same industry, you're a little bit more reluctant to ask the question because you want to be seen as the expert, or you don't want people to not know what you don't want to know. So how do you get past that fear of asking? Because a lot of people think you have to hold it all in because it's a sign of weakness to ask for the support you need. So how do you actually get over that fear or that imposter syndrome? Maybe you're successful, but you know that you're flying by the seat of your pants and something has to change so that you don't drop the ball. Like, how do you get past that?
Yeah, that's very difficult because it is a catch-22. I mean, human nature, when you're in a room, people are judging. Everybody aren't like us as coaches where we provide a non-judgment, safe environment for you to say what you need to say, ask the questions you need to ask. So that is very difficult. So I want to acknowledge that first. But secondly, as a person who is intentionally, so I go back to that word, you're intentionally wanting to grow, you have to, not an option, you have to ask the question. So maybe it starts, as we talked about, baby steps, right? They always open the room. Anybody have any questions? And everybody's silent. But maybe you flip over and you're like, hey, Jen, I think that I have a question about AR. What is AR? Accounts receivable. I heard them say that, but I don't know what that means. So start with just asking the person right next to you, okay? And then you say, okay, that wasn't that bad. They didn't bite my head off. I actually got some information. And then you turn to the other side and you ask the other person. And then maybe when it's over, you stand up and you go to the front of the room and you put yourself in a one-on-one situation till you can start to become more and more comfortable. And then once you're more and more comfortable because you're taking baby steps and you're challenging yourself that every time you get in the room, I am going to ask someone in this room a question. I'm going to go up to them. Some people are have to write it down. So maybe you bring postcards or you bring index cards and you write that question down and you said, I had this question. Do you mind reading this and answering it? There's so many ways to address our fears, but the bottom line is taking a step, an intentional step forward in getting past it. And it doesn't matter how big or how little it is, as long as you're doing something towards getting over that fear.
And you know, what comes to mind very strongly here is a lot of times people are quiet until the first person asks a question. Have you ever seen where you're in a group and they say any questions, everybody's quiet, but as soon as someone asks a question, then everybody wants to ask a question. So sometimes I would say it's very uncomfortable. Growth is in the discomfort. Be the person who asks the first question if that's the uncomfortable thing for you in a group situation. But the other thing that really came to mind is you keep talking about intentionality. When we walk into a group of entrepreneurs or investors or industry leaders, or wherever we are, whatever room if we go in with the intention of I'm going to learn something from everyone I speak to, then we come with an air of curiosity, and that can kind of move you through as well, can it? Because if you come from a curiosity, like I'm really curious, how do you handle this? I love to hear other perspectives. Then it's a little bit less intimidating to actually ask for what it is that you want. So I love that intentionality. I love the lifelong learning and whatever works for you. So Paula, if people are afraid, or maybe they've been on the fence, because this happens a lot. They're on the fence about coaching. They interview a bunch of coaches. They're like, I'm going to wait until the perfect time. Like, what is the perfect time to hire a business coach or an executive coach if you're an executive? What is the perfect time to hire a coach?
The perfect time is now. Why? Because there's never a perfect time. There's never a perfect time to decide that you're going to leave your, your corporate job and be an entrepreneur. There's never a perfect time. Like we talk about it. Well, we want everything to be in place before we decide to have kids or before we get married. Life is lifing. That's my new motto. Life is lifing, and it's not going to wait on the perfect time. So the perfect time is now. If you are in business, whether you're doing great or whether you're struggling, it is always important to have a mentor or a coach or a person who has had more success than you have had in your business and going where you want to go in your corner to help you see the blind spots, to help you on the days where it's difficult, to celebrate the times where you have wins. I mean, it is amazing to have that resource and that support and that community for you. So the time is now. The perfect time is right now.
Perfect, Paula. And so I know that you do this, you work with many entrepreneurs. I know that you do some fractional work as well on the COO side of things. So if people want to get in touch with you and they want to learn more about, okay, like what does it look like to have a mastermind of people who are growing with me? What does it look like to have a coach, or to even if they're in a different stage of business and maybe they're at the 5 million revenue mark and they can't afford to have a COO or a COO, what is it? How do I know, or what does it look like to hire somebody who's a fractional? How can people get in touch with you?
Absolutely. The best way to get in touch with me is to email me at paula@jengaudetcoaching.com. That's JENGAUDET coaching.com. Send me an email. We'll connect. Conversations are always important to customize what you really need.
And so before we head towards the end of the show, for anybody who's been listening to this and they maybe are dealing with all the changes, they're moving through fear, they're navigating through things, if you were to put yourself in their shoes, what advice would you give to yourself to do today? What would you put into action today?
To do today, the main thing is I would reach out to someone. This journey of entrepreneurship and life is not made to do by yourself. Our brain as humans process by talking and having conversations and being able to have someone to support us. So the first thing to do today is to find that support system. That's the advice I would give to myself, and that's how I've been so successful.
That's super fantastic. Thank you for that. I completely concur. If you don't have the right cheerleaders in your corner, if you don't have the coaches in your corner, you don't have the team in your corner and the colleagues in your corner who always support you no matter what and tell you when you're full of it, because that's part of it too, right? How many times are we full of it and we just need that little kick in the pants to say, okay, no, we're really not. We're not really all that. So I think it's incredibly essential. I thought that the best things that I heard today that you could interact are, everyone has fear. Change breeds fear. It's how we move through our fear that's most important. Get your head out of the stand. Put yourself in a position to start learning about the things that you need to learn. If it's AI, take 15 minutes, 25 minutes a day and learn. But start putting something into action, because the cure to those fears is to act, and to take action on them. And guess what? It gets a little bit easier as you go. And then I heard, make sure you have the right support, the right accountability, and the right mentors in your corner. Always be learning and growing, and be asking yourself, where are the opportunities? And last but certainly not least is to have intentionality behind everything that you do. Did I miss anything?
You got it covered.
Hot dog. Okay, and you, yes, you. We are super excited that you have spent the last almost hour with us, but it's only words if you don't put it into action. So now is the time where you take action today, not tomorrow, not next week, but today. Pick one thing you heard. If you know that you are not putting lunch in your calendar, put it in your calendar and start taking care of yourself. If self-care is where it is. If it's learning about AI or if it's dealing with your numbers, start today. Start small. Take that one step and every day do a little bit more, a little bit more, a little bit more, and drive it to completion so that by the time we see you next week, you're like, yes, let's take it. I'm ready to move on. I've got that positive momentum. So it's all about the action here. Knowledge is a very small part of the equation. And unfortunately, all good things do have to come to an end, including this show. But the good news is I'll see you same time, same station next week. Go win today, win this week, and we'll see you next time.
This has been a NowMedia Television feature presentation. All rights reserved.
Soy Salvador García Soto y a partir de este lunes quiero comentarle que las noticias de la noche cambian de horario. De lunes a viernes a las 10 lo espero por el canal 10. Ya lo sabe, el mejor análisis, las historias, los personajes están aquí en las noticias de la noche del Heraldo Televisión. Las noticias donde deben de estar. Acompáñeme a las 10 por el 10.
According to the FBI, a robbery occurs every 13 seconds. Homes and businesses without a reliable security system are 300% more likely to be burglarized. Alert 360 provides custom-tailored rock-solid security solutions to residential and commercial customers. Whether it's home security, fire and carbon monoxide detection, flood protection, connected senior care, managed video surveillance solutions, 24/7 alarm monitoring, and life safety, Alert 360 is your ideal solution. In addition, Alert 360 has a smart home and business integrations like access control and video shield for a complete peace of mind, protecting what matters the most and reducing energy costs with our top-of-the-line automatic scheduling functions. Alert 360 offers security services discounts to military personnel, veterans, first responders, educators, and hospital personnel. Don't be a victim. Take a strong step today. Call Rosana Torres at 832-863-8574 for your free consultation.
Bienvenidos a Imperio Bar Houston, el bar más vibrante de Downtown en la ciudad de Houston. En Imperio, la fiesta nunca para. Nuestro DJ de clase mundial te mantendrá bailando toda la noche con la mejor música de hoy y de siempre. Además, aquí encontrarás las mejores bebidas y cócteles. En Imperio, nuestro ambiente electrizante y nuestro equipo amigable te asegurarán una noche que nunca olvidarás. Te esperamos de 9:30 a 2 de la mañana. Imperio, donde la diversión nunca se detiene.
¿Qué tal amigos? Soy Guadalupe Juárez y junto con Sergio Sarmiento estaremos todos los días de lunes a viernes de 7 a 10 de la mañana con la mejor información nacional, internacional también. Aquí ustedes se van a enterar de todo lo que pasa en México y el resto del mundo. Ahora en Estados Unidos a través de NowMedia en colaboración con el Heraldo Media Group.
The tax and bookkeeping team is key to any successful business. At Gunderson's Bookkeeping, our passion is to help small business owners grow, be profitable, and to prosper. We specialize in supporting small to mid-sized business owners who want to hire a full-time or even a part-time bookkeeper but just do not have the funds. In addition, we free business owners from the tedious tasks of bookkeeping and help them focus on their business operations, their growth, and profitability. Gunderson's Bookkeeping is your business solutions partner offering a broad range of services to meet the needs of our clients. A profitable business needs accurate and reliable books, so take a strong step and call us today for your personal, no-risk consultation.
¿Estás cansado de la inseguridad, la situación económica y de ya sabes quién? ¿Te gustaría salir de México y emigrar a Estados Unidos? Soy Edmundo Treviño y quiero compartir contigo más de 20 años como inmigrante emprendedor en Estados Unidos. Sígueme en todas mis redes sociales para que juntos logremos ese gran sueño de emigrar y lograr conquistar el mercado americano.
Working, especially if you don't have the right attorney at your side. Hi, my name is Sonia Aston, and I'm an attorney with over 30 years of experience. I've helped small and medium-sized businesses and business owners to make sure that their legal rights and interests are protected. As general counsel for you and your organization, I can draft and review solid contracts, minimize the risk